The John Wick franchise seemed to have ended with a climactic death scene in the 4th movie, but there might still be a chance of Keanu Reeves' philosophical contract killer returning to the big screen, as John Wick 5 is already in development. Today at ScreenRant, we imagine how John Wick 5 could unfold.
До свидания, мой сын.
The 5th chapter in the John Wick saga starts from where the 4th one ended. After Wick's alleged death and burial, we see Akira wielding a sword, ready to exact revenge on Caine for killing her father Shimazu Koji. As Caine reunites with his daughter in Paris, Akira waits in the distance to seek her vengeance. John Wick 5 builds upon this face-off, as Caine's advanced hearing skills can detect Akira in due time. While his daughter is safe, Caine gets ready to hold his ground against Akira. The bright streets of Paris shimmer with rain as Caine and Akira take their fighting position. Akira's unparalleled skills with the blade match Caine's guns and walking cane, but before blood can be drawn, the fight is cut short as Winston and his men lurk from the shadows. Winston's forces are ready with heavy firepower aimed at both Akira and Caine. There are bigger problems. Winston's theatrical voice echoes from the darkness, carrying the news of the hour. He's alive. John Wick awakens in a hidden medical facility hidden within the sewers of New York City. His body is scarred from the painful finale of Chapter 4, but he's healing at a rapid pace. The dingy room hums with advanced medical equipment, courtesy of Winston providing some of that continental money. The Bowery King sits nearby, feeding his loyal pigeons that somehow found their way into this underground sanctuary. "The world thinks you're dead, Jonathan," he remarks with his usual smirk, tossing another handful of seeds to his messenger birds. "Maybe it's best to stay underground this time." But fate has other plans for the aging hitman. He's still not over his Baba Yaga days. In Tokyo, an enigmatic figure emerges from the shadows of the underground. He is Takashi Kuroda, the new villain to face off against John Wick. While he might be new to the franchise, this character has a shadowy past with both Wick and the High Table. Once the criminal organization's most trusted enforcer, he is now all set to become its greatest threat. The High Table might be full of high-ranking assassins, but these criminals also know how to maintain balance. The aim is to carry out hits as accurately and stealthily as possible, avoiding collateral damage and public chaos, unlike a rogue John Wick or even the Chapter 4 villain Marquis. But Takashi Kuroda had more ambitious plans to expand the High Table's reach. He aimed to weaponize the table's resources with biological warfare, and this is what led the seniors to exile him from the organization. Staying in hiding and training himself to brutal levels of perfection, Kuroda has spent years building a shadow network of rogue assassins. Kuroda recruits all those who feel constrained by the table's ancient rules of honor and balance. His goal is to destroy the High Table and replace it with his order, a new world order without rules and consequences. Still recovering from the damages in Chapter 4, the Osaka Continental is undergoing repair even though Akira is out of Japan on her personal quest for revenge. But even as the hotel begins its new life, Kuroda's forces attack the Continental once again and leave behind dozens of dead bodies. Back to the opening scene, Winston briefs Akira and Caine about Wick being alive and the rise of a new threat like Kuroda. Akira temporarily abandons her vendetta against Caine, recognizing a threat that could destroy everything her father died protecting. She seeks out the one person who might understand her need for vengeance while having the skills to stop Kuroda, the man who just couldn't die. Akira and Wick's tense reunion in New York forces both to confront their complicated history. After all, Akira's father did die protecting Wick in Osaka. "Your father sacrificed his life for me." Wick acknowledges the debt he owes to Akira and her family, but when Akira reveals Kuroda's plans, Wick realizes this goes beyond personal vendettas. The investigation leads them through Europe's underworld, where they connect with Eve Macaro, aka the Ballerina. Set between the 3rd and 4th John Wick movies, Ballerina already introduced Wick to Eve, who became a mentor figure to her. Now back in the present, Eve reveals she has been tracking Kuroda's operation through her own network of contacts. Eve's intelligence reveals that Kuroda plans to release a bioweapon at a gathering of High Table elders in Kyoto, a rare meeting that occurs once every decade. The weapon would turn the world's most dangerous assassins into mindless killers, creating chaos that would destroy the table's power structure and the delicate balance it maintains. Reluctantly, Wick and his allies must turn to Caine for help. Caine's connections in Japan and other East Asian crime syndicates are crucial to infiltrating the gathering in Kyoto. Despite Akira's rage, a turbulent alliance forms. Top assassins from past movies also join the effort as Wick is still recovering from his injuries. Taking Kuroda and his army of super soldiers alone is an impossible task even for the Baba Yaga. So, Parabellum's Sophia Al-Azwar joins their cause, her highly trained dogs proving invaluable for tracking Kuroda's movements through the city's ancient streets. The Tracker, the mysterious assassin from Chapter 4, is also called on with his own dog, adding to their formidable canine unit. The second act builds up to an explosive raid on Kuroda's research facility in Singapore. The team fights through several security units, encountering mercenaries equipped with prototype versions of the bioweapon. They discover the horrifying extent of his experiments, failed test subjects, mines destroyed by earlier versions of the weapon, and evidence that Kuroda has already begun distributing the bioweapon to sleeper agents worldwide. But they're too late to stop the production. Kuroda has already moved his operation to Kyoto, leaving behind just enough destruction to showcase the weapon's potential. In the final act, Wick's team infiltrates the High Table Gathering, each member taking their position around the ancient temple complex. Wick moves through torchlit grounds as Akira and Caine keep watch from different positions. Sophia's dogs patrol the perimeter, their heightened senses alert for any chemical signatures of the weapon. Eve works to disable Kuroda's delivery system, hidden within the temple's ancient ventilation network, while the Tracker maintains their escape route, eliminating waves of Kuroda's forces with his skilled aim with multiple guns. But Kuroda is no fool. He triggers his weapon early, turning a section of his own men into uncontrollable zombie-like killers. As the team battles both controlled and uncontrolled assassins, Caine realizes the only way to stop the weapon's spread is to trigger the temple's ancient fire suppression system, a move that would trap him in the contamination zone. In the chaos, Akira sees Caine make his choice. Her father's sacrifice is reflected in Caine's heroic act. In the end, both men chose to preserve a system that might be flawed but is better than total chaos. He fights his way to the control room, taking multiple wounds but succeeding in activating the system. Fire and purifying agents flood the contaminated areas, containing the weapon but leaving Caine trapped. The high-stakes climax sees Wick confronting Kuroda in the temple's bell tower, while the purification system rages below. Their battle is brutal, testing Wick's renewed strength against Kuroda's enhanced abilities. Kuroda, having taken a dose of his own weapon, fights with inhuman intensity. The fight ends with Wick using Kuroda's modified weapons against him, proving that the old ways like skill and focus still emerge victorious over unchecked violence and modern technology. In the aftermath, Akira stands at Caine's memorial, her father's sword laid to rest beside Caine's name. Wick approaches, still limping but alive. He chose to preserve the balance, Wick says while respecting his dead friend, like your father did. Akira nods, finally understanding that vengeance isn't the only way to honor the fallen. The film ends with Wick vanishing once again, but not before receiving a message from Winston. Other former High Table enforcers, inspired by Kuroda's vision, are emerging from the shadows. Kuroda might be dead, but his legacy lives on, something that Wick promises to fight yet again.
Yeah.
While we don't know much about how exactly Keanu Reeves will return in John Wick 5, this potential storyline sticks to the theory that the fifth is going to be the most ambitious entry in the franchise. With Wick aging and questioning his own mortality, it's time for him to pass the baton to younger successors like Eve and Akira. But then again, Wick refuses to die, and his shadow might still loom over these younger assassins. Thanks for watching Screen Rant, and stay tuned for more John Wick news.